welcome to our first talk of the season for the Science Society. I would like to introduce you Simone Sistarelli. He has a first-class degree in dance from Trinity Laban Conservatoire of Music and Dance, and he also has an MSc in dance psychology from the University of Hertfordshire. He's currently leading a scientific research on the effects of popping on people with Parkinson's. And he's a specialist in the dance for Parkinson's field. And he has a vast experience, not only in the arts, but only in the psychology of dance. For example, he has been a guest speaker in conferences and events related to Parkinson's in the UK, Zambon Pharma, and he has also had jobs as a university lecturer and as a performer roles, and he's also a dance teacher for organizations as Dance West and Age UK. And he also worked and collaborated with many international companies. I'm looking forward to hear what Simone has to say. I know he has been doing extensive research on the effects of dancing in individuals with Parkinson, and I understand that there is a benefit, and I'm really looking forward to hear about your results. On to you, Simone.
Thank you very much for having me, and thanks for the introduction. It was great. Hi, everyone. My name is Simone, and tonight I would like to start with something different. I don't want to start by going into talking straight away. I would like to start in a unique way, I like to think. I would like everyone on the call to give me a muscleman position, okay? So we're gonna be here and we're gonna make the muscles, okay? So we're gonna contract the muscle and say, I am strong, and I release. And I'm gonna say, I'm strong, and I release. That's right. Now we do the same thing, but instead of contracting and holding the contraction, we contract and instantly release the muscles with the power of a Bruce Lee punch, okay? With the effect of like the heart beating or like an electric shock. So something like this. We make the muscle release, contract, release, boom, ka, boom, ka, boom, ka, boom, ka. Okay? We're gonna try that to the music, okay? First slow and then fast. Ready? Here we go. Ready, we go. Up, muscle. Bam, bam, really strong. Boom, power. Now double time. Muscle, boom. Okay, boom. Okay, that's great. So why did I want to start with this? We're gonna come back to this, all right? Keep this in mind. Now, I would now like to start by sharing with you this, this clip. And tell me, what do you see here? This is the image that I had in my head many years ago. It's a matter of perception. It's a matter of perspective, of point of view. What is a symptom and what is artistic expression? What is negative and what is positive? What is a symptom? What is a disability? And what is a strength? Again, we will come back to this later on. Now, this is my grandpa. My grandpa suffered from Parkinson's. So when I think of him, The picture in my mind's eye is never still. He was always shaking. Nevertheless, my grandpa taught me, lead by example, that circumstances, in this case, the disease, did not define who he was. When I think of him, I think of a great family man, a respected lawyer, a great grandparent, not a patient, not a pill eater. And trust me, he would eat a lot of pills. This is me at 10 years old. I discovered dance by chance. And through dance, I then discovered hip-hop culture. What really got me of this culture is the power of changing perspective and the freedom of choosing your identity. Historically, the kids in the South Bronx in the early 70s that ended up creating hip-hop culture were living in disastrous conditions made of poverty, violence, gang activities, and drugs. And yet they did not let the circumstances define their identities and their future. Personally, this concept touched me deeply. And you might wonder, but why would a white, middle-class Italian ginger kid that grew up in a privileged environment and family surrounded by lawyers and police forces go incredibly interested and passionate about a culture that started 50 years before him in a different continent by people of color that were discriminated against and surrounded by poverty and crime? Easy. I was born with a rare disease called bladder exstrophy, which is degenerative and has no cure to date. And I'm Italian, and for the Italian government, I technically am 100% disabled. And it's only thanks to hip-hop that I found the strength not to let circumstances define my identity. I did not want to be defined by my disability, by my condition. I wanted to be Simone, an expressive human being and a dancing soul. Between all of the various dance techniques included within hip-hop culture, the one that resonated with me the most was popping. I still vividly remember the first time I saw someone doing popping in front of me for the first time, and it felt like the earth was shaking. Now, you might be wondering, what is popping dance? Right, remember what we did at the beginning? The muscle to the music? Well, that is the pop, the basic foundation of the style. Is just then executed with the whole body. And as an Italian, the best way for me to explain to you what popping is, the image that I can give you is pasta and sauce. The pasta is the natural movement that arises from listening to the music. You just let the body move you and the music move you. The sauce is the pop, the hard contractions of all the muscles in your body instantly and voluntarily to the beat. And as an Italian, I obviously want a lot of pasta with a lot of sauce. As a kid, I was doing that all the time, like literally all the time. And so much so that my mom, my grandma, my friends would always tell me, Simone, stop shaking. And I would think, I'm not shaking, I am dancing. And shaking here is the key word that unlocked the image in my mind's eye, the one that I showed you before. People with Parkinson's shake without the beat. I, as a popping dancer, shake to the music. This was the spark, the intuition. I wanted to support people with Parkinson's through the study and practice of popping dance, remixing the concept of disability and giving people the strength and power to choose their identities the same strength that hip hop gave me as a kid in the first place. Not to be defined by circumstances, bringing humanity back where it's lost, gaining control over your body and consequently of your life, and transforming the shaking into popping, a disease in a starting point, a symptom into a superpower. The impact of this change of perspective is enormous, almost magical. Can you believe that the people you just saw all had Parkinson's? One of my students from New York once wrote to me saying, I feel like these popping dance classes are really helping me find the body control that I lost due to Parkinson's. Not to mention the wows I get from my grandchildren when they see me dance. Now, this is phenomenal. This is what drives me and motivates me to do what I do. And pre-COVID, many of my students would enter the dance studio with crutches and serious challenges. The music would start, everyone would dance. And at the end of class, so often, students will leave the room forgetting the crutches in the studios. The most evident impact that dance has on people with Parkinson's, specifically, I can see that through their smile. People with Parkinson's have difficulties expressing their emotions through facial expressions. This is one of the many symptoms of Parkinson's, the so-called zombie face. So if people smile on the outside, they are bursting with joy on the inside, which is exactly what happens after every dance class. And since tonight we are talking about the impact that dance has on people, and especially people with Parkinson's, Parkinson's severely affects people's lives on so many levels. Parkinson's can change the way you talk, the way you walk, the way you dress, your behavior, the circle of friends and family around you, your self-esteem, and much more. I wanted to remix that concept by changing the word Parkinson's to the word hip-hop. Hip-hop can change the way you talk, the way you walk, the way you dress, your behavior, the circle of friends and family around you, your self-esteem, and everything else. So this is the kind of impact that I wanted to bring to the community that I serve, which is the same impact that allowed me to be who I am today, really. Now, I've been witnessing this impact firsthand for many years. But what does science tell us about the impact and effects that dance has on people with Parkinson's? Because obviously I can bring you my story and my experience, but how does that relate to the science and the hard evidence, if you wish, that we have up to date? Now, to explore that, I would like to take a step back. 10 million people worldwide have Parkinson's. So it's a big thing. In the UK alone, 2 people every hour get diagnosed with Parkinson's. And as if this was not alarming enough, it has been recently found that getting COVID exponentially augments the risk of developing Parkinson's, with some research calling this the third wave of the pandemic, which is incredibly scary, obviously. Parkinson's is a neurodegenerative disease that tends to develop in people aged 50 and over, and has no cure to date. The main symptoms are body tremor, slowness of movement, and physical rigidity. But other symptoms include depression, anxiety, apathy, issues with balance, insomnia, sudden changes in body temperature and sweating, erectile dysfunction, and so many other symptoms. And Parkinson's is such a personal disease. Every individual suffers from this disease in a very particular, personal, and unique way. Now, the evidence is clear. Let's go even before that. Movement is key to achieve a healthy and balanced lifestyle. And this is valid for everyone, right? So much so that even during the hard lockdown here in the UK, we were still all able to go and exercise outdoors. Movement is really key to a balanced, healthy lifestyle. But what kind of movement? This is where it gets interesting. A recent publication from the World Health Organization highlighted that out of all movement activities that you can think of, the ones that were artistic were the most impactful and successful. In other words, the impact that movement-based artistic activities had on people's health is remarkable. The same publication actually goes on to highlight dance, actually in particular dance for Parkinson's, as a great example of that. Why? Well, there's a long list of reasons why dance works. And we're talking a list of reasons that have been researched with scientific methods up to date. I would like to go through some basic but very important factors that make dance such a powerful and unique tool. And I would like to start looking at the three main levels of research: the physical, the psychological, and the social. On a physical level, dance is intrinsically a form of physical activity, and it's based on balance, weight shifting, coordination, rhythm, timing, awareness of self in space, and awareness of space itself, and way more. And scientific research tells us that dance brings physical benefits on balance, walking stride, functional mobility, endurance, fall prevention, and more. Especially fall prevention is incredibly important because for people with Parkinson's, falls are the number one cause of injuries and actually death. So if dance can prevent falls, which is it's an incredibly important aspect of Parkinson's, then that's great. On a psychological level, dance has huge impacts on students. Research actually shows that dance offers remarkable improvements in participants' mood, quality of life. It reduces depression and anger. It boosts self-esteem and way more. This could be intuitive to some, right? Dance allows you to be an artistic, expressive being. And this is particularly relevant for people with Parkinson's, as their bodies, when they dance, are not decaying cages anymore. They suddenly become channels of expression. Now, this shift in perspective is fundamental because it allows participants to feel like they're taking back control and ownership over their bodies, which was lost due to the disease, and ultimately feel empowered again and in control over their life as a whole. This really allows people to deeply delve into the process of acceptance, both of the disease, but most importantly, of their being and life as a whole. On a social level, dance has the power to bring people together from the beginnings of history, as we know, up to now. And COVID, if anything, really highlighted the necessity for us to connect, be together, and have a relationship, and the importance that that has on people. Scientific research says that dance strongly reduces social isolation, which is obviously now with COVID times even more important. Dance also increases social connection and connectivity, both in terms of quantity and quality. So not only you connect more, but you connect better with people. I always like to think of this, that dance does not care about who you are, where you come from, your gender, your religion, your abilities, your background. It welcomes you. It embraces you and says, okay, welcome, be a student. That's all it matters. Express yourself. And dance is probably one of the only activities that I can think of, and activities and environments really, in which differences are not discriminated. They are actually celebrated. In hip hop especially, looking like someone else tends to be frowned upon. So you have to fully embrace your uniqueness. And this is exactly why I strongly and firmly believe that everyone can dance and everyone should dance. Dance teaches you essential life skills and basic human values that are clearly lacking in today's Western society, full of racism, injustices, and negativity. We saw it with Black Lives Matter as probably the best example of it, unfortunately, during COVID times. Dance does not discriminate, which I love. Little political side note, I wish politicians, especially the ones that think that dance is an elitist hobby but not a viable and meaningful career choice, would start going to dance classes to learn something about hard work and dedication and practice, and also to acquire some long lost human touch. But this is another topic for another time. Why is dance of support for people with Parkinson's? Another aspect is that dance has one of the lowest dropout rates because participants enjoy it and have a desire to keep practicing in comparison to other physical exercise regimes and activities. And this is an aspect that can't be disregarded or forgotten, because consistency in participation is key to achieving long-lasting results. And this is very much intuitive for anything in life, really. Now, of course, there are some flaws in the field as well when it comes to scientific research and dance for Parkinson's. I need to be critical about my own field, I have to be honest. There's a couple of points that I'm sure you as science students will appreciate and understand. First up is the research in the field has considered the physical level that I was talking about earlier as the main level of exploration. Now, this is understandable, as of course there is an interest from both practitioners and students, participants, to see whether dance can ameliorate symptoms of a disease such as Parkinson's that still has no cure to date. Having said that, by focusing on this level, if results were not statistically significant, the dance intervention was considered useless, basically. Now, with this, I strongly disagree. First of all, because dance is intrinsically a physical activity. If there are no improvements on a physical level, we either have tools that are not able to register effects, or we're having an unprepared teacher, unqualified teacher leading the classes that is not doing a proper job. Also, allow me to point out that the tools we use to register these changes are not dance specific, which complicates matters like further. The other aspect that needs to be considered is that science register effects. But many people in the field, such as Dr. Sarah Houston, one of the most prominent figures in the dance for Parkinson's field, believe that dance offers affect rather than effect. So dance affects participants in ways that to this day have not been necessarily explored yet. My quest and one of my missions is to get the scientific research in the field to be as accurate as dance itself. There's a lot of work to do, and science will eventually catch up. To make a parallel, just like the Earth has always revolved around the sun, dance has an incredibly powerful impact on participants. Science simply doesn't know that yet, basically. On another note, it's also very important to establish that dance is not a less boring form of physiotherapy, which is a lot of times when people get diagnosed and get referred to dance classes, if they're lucky, they might start participation because they think, oh yeah, I'd rather do dance rather than physiotherapy because it's like less boring. If anything, the World Health Organization publication that I mentioned earlier actually showed that the dance interventions work better than physiotherapy interventions because of attendance, because of variability, as in attendance and consistency in the attendance, and the low dropout rates in dance interventions, but also because of the variability that dance offers in terms of movement. Physiotherapy only offers very specific and targeted moves, but it's arguable that dance offers a variety of movements that actually offer the participant a better way to deal with any symptoms / injury / situation, really. Also, I cannot stress this enough. The real reason why anyone starts to dance is to express themselves, accessing a sphere, a level of humanity that is not easily accessible on a daily basis. And let me put it this way. Prescribing dance classes to improve, say, walking stride, for instance, would be like prescribing piano lessons to prevent or treat hand arthritis, given that that's the case. Now, even if that was true and undeniable, the issue here is that we completely lose sight of what the real power of dance or arts in general is, which is unlocking potential, allowing freedom, acceptance, respect, and expression of any kind. What is necessary here is a change of perspective. Dance is intrinsically a form of scientific research. We conduct, as practitioners, as dancers, we conduct experiments literally constantly. And if you think about it, I've been a researcher for 20 plus years, and I research every day. I acquire and analyze data constantly. I see what works and see what doesn't, why certain instructions and settings are more effective than others. I do that both with myself as a practitioner and with participants from all over the world, especially now that we're going online. With people with different ages, backgrounds, levels of Parkinson's, histories in general. what other studies in science really are comparable with this kind of accuracy and longevity? There's only few that I can think of. And again, I also want to point out that what I do is I analyze the person in front of me in all the complexities of life, not the patient, or even worse, the symptom. So the quality of the data that I collect and analyze is not solely focused on a physical symptom, but it really covers many more aspects and variables, if you wish. A person that is diagnosed with Parkinson's has a fundamental choice to make with two possibilities. Either be a patient as a slave of a disease, or be patient in the process of acceptance. Dance allows people not to feel trapped by the disease and to bring humanity where it got lost. Dance really remixes the concept of disability because it allows people to transform a symptom into a superpower. And this is how you create a movement of people that really want to taste every single moment of their lives. The change in perspective is in exactly that. Take everything as an opportunity, turning negative into positive. To be honest, this is not always easy, for sure, but it definitely is clear. Lastly, what happens when you participate in one of my dance classes? Say you are someone with Parkinson's. You come to class. In the best case scenario, you transform your symptom into a superpower through an art form. Worst case scenario, you exercise for an hour, which is still great for you, so you still improve. Plus, the Popping for Parkinson's classes that I offer are free of charge because I didn't want to profit off of disability. So even in the worst case scenario, if you move, you improve. If you dance, you improve your life. It's a no-brainer. It's a win-win situation. And for me, it is fantastic to lead this project because I get to share my love and passion for dance along with my values, my core values, and doing exactly what I love to do. So literally everyone wins.
Keep going, keep bopping!
That is the vibe in the Popping for Parkinson's dance classes. And again, where is Parkinson's? So in conclusion, my message for you tonight is transform your negative into your superpower. Support the ones that do it. But most importantly, share the fire and love that you have for your passion with as many people as possible, especially with the ones that might benefit from it the most. And remember, if you don't feel ready or you're not feeling confident about it sometimes, simply remember to tell yourself, I'm strong. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
There you go.
Yeah. So if the participants would like to ask questions, please do click on questions and answers, not the chat. So I can then read your questions to Simone and he will answer. As I was listening to you, Simone, I remember when you were doing the Masters at Hertfordshire. And I would like to know a little bit more about your findings. But before you answer, there is here one in the chat from Sophie. Says, thank you. It was incredible. An inspiring talk, feeling emotional and so inspired. Thank you, Simone. But please do ask your questions in the question and answer box. So could you tell us a little bit about the results of your research? And you mentioned something about science register effects and dance deliver effects. And I find it very interesting because it's very much science is so focused on quantifying and gathering numbers, and very often forgets the human side of what we are analyzing. Especially in psychology, we need to focus on the human factor. Could you expand a little bit more on that, please?
Yes, I completely agree. So when it comes to, okay, let me start with my findings with my research. So what I did was I researched, I did a Popping for Parkinson's class in 4 different locations with different people with Parkinson's, different participants, all with Parkinson's. And I was analyzing mood and quality of life. I took in standard Dance for Parkinson's research, most of the research is based on a 10 to 12 week intervention with 1 class per week or 2 classes per week. I wanted to look at the power of 1 dance class because I believe that the power of dance lies in the moment we do it and we practice it more than anything else. What I actually found is that the mood is absolutely boosted. Like the change literally goes to the roof. What's also interesting is that what I found was people come, we register them at baseline, right? And they feel okay, not okay, doesn't matter, boom. At the end of class, literally everyone goes in mood, which is phenomenal. The day after, 24 hours after the class, the effects are already gone, which actually proved the point that dance only works. If dance was a pill, you would have to take this dance pill every day, just like you do with levodopa, which is the main pharmacological intervention that people with Parkinson's use. So yeah, and then you would argue, is there a ceiling effect? Is there like a practice effect? I really don't think so. I've been dancing for 20 years and I still enjoy it just like the first day. So I don't have, that's not what I found, but I really don't think that that's what I would find in future research, really.
So you were actually doing a correlation between dance and mood levels. And how did you measure mood?
I used the PDQ-39 for quality of life and POMS. So it's profile of mood states, because that's the one that has been used before in the field.
That's a questionnaire, yeah.
Yeah, they're both questionnaires.
So you asked before and after dance.
Yes. So I actually had 4 time points. I had before the class, straight after the dance class, the day after, and a week after. Because my initial idea was, okay, people come from baseline, they will really have a great time in class and their mood will be boosted. Maybe there's some effects on the day after, maybe by the end of by the week, there's nothing there. And actually I found that the effects are even of shorter duration that I actually thought of at the beginning. The other thing is quality of life, because that's the other thing that I was looking at in my research. And I found that with the tool that I was using, which is the PDQ-39, which is the standard tool to register quality of life in people with Parkinson's, the tool records 1 month at base. So when you answer the questionnaire asks you to reflect on your quality of life in the month that has just been passed, right? What was fascinating is that I thought, okay, you do the dance, you come at baseline, you do the dance class, which is an hour long. After the dance class, your quality of life should not have been changed, right? Because you're thinking about a month time of quality of life and then plus 1 hour. And yet, at the end of the class, even the quality of life showed a statistically significant change, which is not, because people did not experience life during that hour, if you wish, right?
Yeah.
And yet, probably the mood was the one that actually affected their perception of their quality of life, to the point where even their quality of life was then statistically significantly changed for positive. And obviously then the benefits were not there the day after and the week after, for obvious reasons. One dance class cannot change your quality of life as a whole. You need more classes, but yeah.
And the attendance here, if anyone is interested in your classes or pass on your information to their grandparents or their parents, and now with COVID, I understand that you are also giving these classes online, are you? So people can follow you at home.
Yes, I do offer online classes. Thanks to COVID, I have to say, because we actually managed to turn them online and actually be quite successful with that, which is really nice. Classes are free of charge. Popping for Parkinson's is the project that I run. If you want to, you can sign up and join the classes through the website poppingforparkinsons.com. And the classes, again, are free of charge, and they're funded by the National Lottery and by the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan. And we do our thing. We have a seated popping class, which is unique in the world, and a standing popping class, again, for people with Parkinson's. So people can join in, and we literally have people from US, Brussels, UK, Italy, all over the place. It's such a great environment. And especially with COVID,
yes,
where obviously we can't go out and meet and do this kind of stuff, especially for people with Parkinson's that are vulnerable, but not in the vulnerable category. So they're not taken care of by the government, but they're still vulnerable enough to be almost there. So it's a terrible position to be in. They really need it. And actually COVID, recent research actually showed the tremendous changes in negative of all the symptoms for people with Parkinson's, literally all of them, which is quite intuitive. We're home, we're sitting down, we're sad, we're worried. That's for all of us. And if you have Parkinson's and you don't see your GP, you might, it's everything just changes. Your habits change, and the worry is just a lot to take in. So they're hit even worse than people without Parkinson's, if you wish.
So I would like to invite the attendees to ask some questions, or you're free to write some comments. And
in the meantime, I also want to say, I want to bring up the idea of affect, as you mentioned earlier, right? The idea of the participant from New York that wrote to me, yes, the dance is making me feel good in my body, but the grandchildren say, wow, when I dance. Now, that's one comment that just stayed with me, because it's a great example of the affect that dance has.
yeah,
How do you register that with scientific tools that are not dance specific, that usually require some hard data and numbers and this kind of data? And this is why I strongly disagree and struggle with the Dance for Parkinson's field when it comes to the scientific research, because a lot of the research has based their evaluation on the physical level. But someone might not have a physical benefit necessarily that is visible, and yet his life in this case could dramatically then change, because now you're starting to see your grandkids, and the grandkids are seeing the cool grandpa, not the shaking poor grandpa with a disease. Now, how important is this? So this is the thing, right? I see this on a daily basis, and I've been seeing this for many, many years. Science will eventually catch up to this point of knowledge, but there's a lot of work to do, because unfortunately, the Dance for Parkinson's field as a thing, without the research, just Dance for Parkinson's, is very young. It's 10, 15 years old. Maybe 20 now, but not even 20 years old, I think. So obviously, there's still a lot to do. And you would also argue that the importance of research has always been on hard data, numbers, rather than qualitative interviews and things like that. Yet, I still think that there's a massive thing that we're completely missing out on, which is exactly the effect of dance on people with Parkinson's. But I'm sure there's so many other fields that have an effect, an affect on participants. And the science doesn't know that yet.
Okay, Simone, thank you so much for this very enlightening talk. I hope that the attendees and the participants enjoyed it. I think everything was very clear. There's no questions. So perhaps they understood very clearly your talk. And good luck with your project, and congratulations about what you're doing. And we are going to close it now.